So hello and welcome to Kitty Talks. We share inspirational life stories that empower you to create yours. And my guest today has got an incredible transformational life story, which she is going to share with us. Susie Anthony is a transformational change agent and a best-selling author of the God Superhero Code. And he said the God Code, the Superhero Code. So Susie, welcome to Kitty Talks.
Hi, Kitty, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here and share.
Well, I know this lady, and she will deliver much wisdom over the course of the next 40 minutes. So stay tuned. But Susie, would you mind, for my listeners who maybe haven't come across you, just kind of giving us an overview of who you are and what you're doing in the world currently?
Okay, well, right now I'm approaching 62, and I had a major life-changing event in my mid-30s in Japan. I was working for the fifth richest guy on the planet, who in 1990 was worth 30 billion US. So major movers and shakers. I'd achieved everything I had ever dreamed of, and suddenly felt empty. All the things I thought would bring me happiness, the false external symbols of power, failed. They failed me. The money, the clothes, the designer labels, the big houses, the big cars, the big life. I felt wretched. And I also ran out of energy. I developed ME. Before really ME was labeled, I just had chronic fatigue after a bout of Epstein-Barr virus, glandular fever, after my first broken heart, actually. So all of these things lined up and took me to my knees. And I wouldn't accept I had to change my life. I think a lot of people fear the unknown, and I certainly did. I feared, what would people think if I walked away from this fantastic, highly paid job, the glamour, the excitement? They'd think I was weak, and I couldn't have bared that.
Even though you felt empty inside, you still, interesting, living.
Yeah. No inner life. Everything was image and, false external symbols of power. No real power inside of myself. But I was to find it. I delved into drugs, not to go out and have fun, just to get energy to be able to continue on the treadmill. And after 6 months in Tokyo taking cocaine on a very regular basis, I realized I had a problem. And in those days, there were no rehabs in the two places I lived, Japan or South Africa. But I went back to South Africa via Amsterdam, where I bought a kilo of cocaine for personal use from a Colombian drug lord. I never do things by half.
Colourful life story. Yep. Absolutely, Susie. Colourful life.
Well, then I proceeded to take it. I was too proud to tell anyone I had a drug problem. I couldn't reach out to any human. But on day 72 of this incredible drug binge, I died. I shot out of my body.
Wow. 72 days in a row doing huge amounts of cocaine every single day.
Yeah.
Now you're talking to an ex-cocaine head. So, I know how much cocaine that would be and where you would be, and you'd literally be bouncing off the walls.
I actually had a very different experience. I was blowing open higher chakras. And so I was gaining entry to worlds that normally you have to meditate for 50 years to gain access to. I just blew all these higher centers wide open. And
well, that's what drugs do, isn't it? That's, ecstasy, drugs, alcohol opens your chakras. That's what people don't realize, is that actually when people take drugs, that's why they open all their chakras and they join with universal energy. But actually you also can pick up loads of nasty, dirty stuff, at the same time.
That's a challenge. I wouldn't recommend it.
No, absolutely not.
Your enlightenment.
Do it.
Because you're blowing open gateways to higher worlds without the psychological grounding and strength to deal with what's behind those doors. Anyway, on Good Friday 1992, I died. I shot out of my body down a tunnel into this neon blue light and was taken before an angelic review board. And I had to account for every action. And I had to account for all those I'd harmed, forgive myself, forgive others.
You remember all of this. It's incredible.
Yeah. Forgive all those who'd harmed me. And all the time I was becoming infused with a kind of love that I think I knew on an unconscious basis existed. And I had tried to find that on earth. And of course, it's not there. So it was the most amazing process. And I could never forget a single second. And I can remember asking as well, can I stay here?
Yeah, it must have been.
It was the best sort of ecstatic, high, bliss-filled, all-consuming love, peace, joy, a recognition of this is the reality. This is the real world, not what's down there. But anyway, it was explained I've always engineered my life events. Before I was born, I made a contract that would ensure I was in enough pain that I would always turn to drugs and die, have this near-death experience. And it was so I could go back, rewired, completely altered, and meet further along the way the right teachers at the right times to take me to the next level and the next level and help me be a light into the darkness, which is what they said. And I'm not clairvoyant or clairaudient. My heart chakra was fully opened so that I knew, I just knew things without knowing how I know, which is what Einstein said. If you wish to solve a problem, you have to get to that higher level of consciousness where you just know the answers without knowing how you know or needing to know. Well, I didn't know about Einstein, but that's certainly what happened to me. So
incredible life experience. Absolutely. Yeah. It's almost like you've totally gone, for the number of books that I've read is all about your soul has a choice, when it comes in. And obviously you have gone to the dark of the dark, but now to come to the light of the light, and it's an incredible depth of vibrational experience that you've chosen to travel and come through.
It's funny you should say that because, people are saying I'm about to go make some films in Hollywood with a major A-lister. And they're saying, oh, goodness, is this going to go to your head? Will you get lost in the glamour? And the answer to that is no, because I got lost in a much more glamorous world than that and learned my lessons in personality life. So it doesn't have any temptation for me to do something high profile where there's lots of money and glamour involved, because I've done those tests. The tests that awaited me on the other side of this near-death experience have been about, am I good enough? Will I fail? Can I do this? But actually, Mother Teresa would say, the person who's always questioning, is she good enough or pure enough to hold the Christ light and beyond is the person who'll draw in that light.
Absolutely.
So hopefully.
Well, the thing is now it becomes about how many people you can help and serve. And obviously the opportunity of your Hollywood film is you can reach a lot of people, you know, and if you can impact a lot of people, you know, you and I are the same, you know, it's why we do our work. We come here to bring the light and to help and serve and help as many people. So the fact that you can do that through Hollywood is brilliant because you can touch and reach so many.
Well, it's just been amazing how, you know, I was promised that I would meet the right people at the right time, at the right place. And people would come running out of shop doorways and recognize my field and that I needed help. And then they'd offer help. And, you know, I was guided to work with a shaman in South Africa who taught me how to initiate people and get them out of a very low level of consciousness that shamans call 4Fs, stuck in medulla oblongata, reptilian brainstem. So I was shown how to open that gateway and bring people to function from frontal lobe neocortex. And, you know, the shaman that taught me turned out to be a king of the shamans, the spiritual leader of the Zulu tribe, Dr. Credo Mutwa. And he said to me, "You've only had 9 lives on this planet." He said, "And you've always been a leader, a healer, a way shower, a warrior." And he said, you've been guided to me to open you up, to remember the talents and gifts of each lifetime. And he said, they will just come to you. So it took 26 years to integrate all of that as I taught people gradually. Different aspects of what I was remembering were coming through into my work. And eventually, after engineering my own breakthrough and breakthroughs from breakdowns for thousands of people all over the world, I then got the structure to write my book, A Map to God, which it's not a religious God. It's about the power of God and Goddess inside of us all and how to tap into that.
Sort of stages of consciousness, isn't it? Like how to progress through the stages of consciousness. Yeah.
From bondage to freedom, liberation, enlightenment. And that's where our superpowers are found inside of us as we open these gateways safely. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And you and I, well, we're on the same mission, aren't we? To activate individuals with their own, you know, get on the right path, you know, because this is available for you, everybody listening. This is not just available for Susie and me. This is available for you too. So, and Susie's going to give us an insight into how we can tap into that, I'm sure.
Yes, I certainly will. The funniest thing was, though, I had suddenly got this obsession that I had to meet Al Gore. And somebody invited me to the premiere of his film, An Inconvenient Truth, in New York. But at the time, I couldn't go. And then somebody else gave me a ticket to go to Leaders of London, a massive conference for business people. And he singled me out and came and talked to me for 45 minutes.
Brilliant.
But what he had to say, first of all, he recognized my light, because he works with light. And he had a look at my book and he said, you know, you put the God word in there. So he said, to make this suitable for the masses, he said, think of another word, not God, not spirit, but the same alchemical level, Gnostic, ancient wisdoms and teachings. But he said, simplify it. So it must go to the masses, your work. He said, we need to create a sense of generational mission in people. And, you know, we need another hero generation. And when he said hero, I just thought, God, that's it. So the superhero code was born, a much, you know, simpler, broad spectrum path that anyone could follow.
And I highly recommend the book. I really, really enjoyed it. So what I loved about it is it takes you through the stages and the levels of consciousness and actually what you can do to activate those.
Yes.
And And for me, it was, I think I said this to Susie off air, but it was, for me, it was just a wonderful confirmation, because it's a lot of the things I have intuitively taught for the last few years, and I didn't really know where they came from. I'm sure it's past lives, and things that I just feel so right to me. And you had them all in your book. So great.
Thank you. Yeah. It's the synthesis of everything that's out there. When I studied different traditional spiritual paths, not one had all the power, all the faith, all the love, all the secrets, all the magic, all the wisdom.
But so I put it all together. Yeah.
Sort of drew it all together.
Yeah, perfect. So Susie has had the most incredible life, as you just heard. She's taken herself from near-death experience to now, having trained in so many different modalities and trained with so many different shamans and wisdom keepers. And obviously now she's a mentor, she's a change agent. But Susie, for our listeners, they're on this journey of uncovering their purpose, because all our listeners, they know that I'm all about Dharma and how we can all take our part in healing the planet. But I'm going to put you on the spot now. Like, what's the sort of really simple advice you would have for someone listening to this podcast about how they can take their life really to the next level, and help and serve at the same time?
Okay, so in order to serve, you have to first of all be a servant leader, which means no followers. You're working on the self to purify. It's not just cleanse and detox. It's psychological purification. So it's shamans call this psychological recapitulation. And it's where you examine the ancestral patterning in your family and in your culture, in terms of how you've been programmed to give your power away and how you've been wounded. And then how you, in turn, manipulate others to get the energy you think you need whilst you're in disconnection from source. So the simplest, the starting gate is
look at your
first of all, get reconnected to source through initiation and work on the self daily, each chakra, bringing it into balance and harmony. The Japanese say balance plus harmony equals power. And at the same time, you don't want to empower a poison cup. If you're full of grief, full of rage, full of lack of self-love, inferiority or superiority, grandiosity, you need to get that stuff psychologically to the surface and released. So it's about a complete rebirth. It's a psychological death. And, we have little deaths every single day. The part of us that gives up chocolate or alcohol has to die. So the people pleaser that, yes, I'll get up at 2:00 in the morning and take you to Gatwick Airport and drive 5 hours back. We have to see where we give our power away, seeking validation. And funnily enough, the most guilty are healers. So many healers haven't worked on the self, don't have a daily discipline to work on the self, have never done any kind of psychological recapitulation, and they're actually healing with the unconscious need of being validated. So
interesting. Yeah.
I talk about fast track, but I never take shortcuts. So
yeah, and that makes total sense. In my own case, the first thing I had to work on was healing the family line of depression. You know, we had a huge line of depression running down the female side of our family. And the other thing, I suppose, the way I always see things in images, and I kind of it's almost like your energy, that energy is stuck. You've got deep, heavier energy, which is obviously those ancestral patterns, and anything you haven't healed in yourself is kind of denser, heavier energy. You're kind of sitting at a lower level vibration. And then when you start to do this work and almost effectively heal yourself, and your vibration shifts and lifts, And that enables you to be a stronger, you can then start to go from victim to responsibility and start to create your life. And then.
Yeah. And, the other important thing is always looking for the gift in everything you're experiencing. So reframing its structure. And recently I had a woman work with me who'd lost her daughter. And she was very, very young, and she was raging and sad and couldn't see the point of this, and was blaming God, who with a big stick, who was punishing them.
Yeah.
And I said, well, actually, that is one way of looking at it, but it's not a very helpful way, because you'll be stuck there for the rest of your life. And in order for healing to occur, it's about realizing your child came in, gave her life, that you, your two sons, your husband could wake up, find this work, and utterly transform. And in fact, that when she was still here, she made it really, really clear she had accepted that. She didn't just believe it, she accepted it. And the difference, in her demeanor, she left giggling, because she felt when she giggled, she was closer to her child who had died. And she had totally embraced, she had a big mission. She'd found her Dharma. So the most important thing, though, is we have to change not only how we think, which changes how we feel, but we have to change how we talk. Because people talk about, well, yes, I'm gradually moving towards embracing more power, more responsibility, and one day, and then it's never going to happen, because the universe will give you more of gradually moving towards one day. So we have to claim our power in the moment. So banish the try word. I'm trying to stop smoking, or I want to be successful. And the universe says, oh, okay, trying, that means failure. And wanting, that means lack. So we'll give more failure, more lack, till we learn to say, I'm choosing success. And
I am successful.
Yeah, exactly. Even better. So, and to be honest, what I learned was that just above the crown chakra is the soul star chakra, and everything we imagine is already there. So the creative process, when we're working on the chakras every day, all the way down the body, we're connecting them, removing any blocks to receiving, feeling worthy to succeed, and empowering ourselves to succeed and receive. That's how we create. So it's really important that we work on the chakra system daily.
And you use Reiki, don't you? That's how when you say work on the chakra system, is that what you mean? You use us?
When I came here from South Africa, having worked with Credo Mutwa, the shaman, I called it Reiki. I initiated to Reiki and I called it Reiki. But I can remember at Reiki 1, my Reiki master, who'd been a master for 20 years, said, I don't know what this energy is, but it's not Reiki. And she said, you've got, 1,000 times more power than I've ever felt. So, with humility, I died to be rewired, and I'm often visited and still get rewired and reprogrammed. So it's based on something, the generic term Reiki just means universal life force energy. So yes, it's learning a set of hand positions and initiations. And traditional Reiki is based on the 7 rays. I work with 22. So
powerful.
It's already much more powerful.
But for people,
I'm not competing or saying I'm better.
Sure.
I'm just saying, wow, Reiki was great 160 years ago, fantastic, even 20 years ago. But now there's so much happening on the planet. They're waking up people like myself to come in with, triple, 1,000 times more power and program others, initiate others, because it's in us all. That's the thing. I just had to believe that. So, and I do now. I've seen so many miracles, so much transformation and empowerment. It's just, I couldn't fail to believe it. So
wonderful. So for people listening, just to recap that. So Susie was saying that really important that you look at, what it is you can heal in your life. So ancestral patterning, in my case, it was the depression and the stuff that ran in my family. All families usually have shadows. What is it that you need to look at? You need to heal. Look at yourself. What is it you need to work on in yourself, whether it's people pleasing, boundaries, where is it you need to kind of clean up, and then look at your language, how you talk to the universe, because the universe is always listening. And I love that, Susie, because it's so true. It will give us what we say we want or deserve. And if we're trying, it says, oh, you're not quite there yet. So we've got to hold back. What other advice would you have for our listeners? They're very much trying to find their purpose, I suppose, is the key kind of subject and message that we always talk about, Dharma and doing our Dharma on this podcast.
So purpose, gifts, talents, missions, all come from higher frequencies. So I have a saying, which is, the universe doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. So by bringing in much higher energy daily through opening medulla oblongata, reptilian brainstem, bringing consciousness into frontal lobe, neocortex, we begin the process of finding our gifts, our mission, how to live with greater purpose and higher meaning is quickened because our frequency has quickened. And as long as we're doing the psychological recapitulation, getting rid of ego, shadow, persona stuff, and living our talk, not just talking it because we've read a book or done a weekend workshop. It's about living it, complete change. Then our frequency will reflect that, and we become magnetic, especially when we're wearing orange. Orange actually is it's the sacral chakra color, but it's highly magnetic in terms of bringing the invisible into the visible reality.
So are you saying then that your passions, your unique gifts are your kind of access point into this path? Is that what you mean? Because everybody has their own passions and unique gifts.
Well, they can be, but more often people come to me because they're lost. They can't find their passion. And Einstein said, in order to solve a problem, we have to go to a much higher level of consciousness than created the problem. So if the problem is depression or lack of meaning, in my case, the loss of all meaning, nothing brought any joy, happiness. There was money in the bank, big houses, all this stuff, but I was completely lost. People get diseased, they get divorced, they're made redundant. So normally you have to hit a speed wobble. And the transition is never, I'm going to go out and be a healer, or I'm going to go out and work with animals, or whatever it is. First of all, the death has to occur, the psychological death. And it's a death to all the programming on the planet. White picket fence, 2.4 kids. I'll do the things I love when I'm retired. Unfortunately, most people come to me when they're retired and they're too ill, too sick, too bored. They've lost, they've lost the will to fund a life that's an adventure. So we have to grab the adventure. But normally we haven't got enough courage when things begin to go wrong. So it's about changing the frequency, initiating, simple daily practice, changing our language, changing what we think. And suddenly the universe will draw us towards, and eventually our higher purpose and how to live with greater meaning just falls in our lap. That's what happened to me. So
beautiful. So some great tips there for you guys listening about how you can start to get on the correct path, cleaning yourself up, looking at ancestral patterns. I do want to talk about, Susie, I want to talk about what's next for you, because I know you've got some things coming up, retreats, which the guys might be interested in. So tell us a little bit more about what the future holds.
Well, it's all about walking the talk. My experience has been from 26 years of giving workshops that a workshop is never normally enough to inspire people to make a change that has longevity, that's permanent. And so if you get a bunch of people, normally I never work with more than 8. So 7 or 8 on retreat for 7 days. And I hold them in a much higher frequency for 24 hours a day for 7 days. And I work with a group community energy at a soul and spirit level. I've been shown how to do this by my guides and masters. And so after 5 minutes, everyone is saying, don't I know you? I feel as if I've known you all my life. It's because at a soul and monadic or spiritual level, everyone's in community. They're all cooperating, they're loving, they're giving, and they're sharing. And it just downloads into the 3D reality. And it's possible. Joseph Campbell said, all you need is a map and a teacher. Well, here I am. I've got my map and I live this stuff. I've lived it 15 years in community daily under the microscope of many students from all over the world and a core team of about 10 that lived in community with me. So I'm giving people a mini experience of that on my retreats, which I've decided to do at home. The Turkey destination had complications, so I've had to cancel that. But I'm seeing people in my home, which actually is a lot more powerful, a lot more relaxed, and extremely beautiful. So,
whereabouts are you based?
Just outside Wells, between Wells and Cheddar, on the Mendips, so overlooking the original lake of Avalon, which is now the Somerset Levels. Arthur pulled his sword from the stone, and the Knights of the Round Table existed here. And of course, before that, in 63 current era, the Holy Family came here after Christ died on the cross, or didn't die, depending which book you've read or believe. They were given 12 hides of land here and tax-free exempt status for 1,000 years. So the energies here are dramatically powerful. So
fantastic. We will have all of Susie's details in the show notes. So we'll hook up in the show notes her website and obviously the link to the retreat so you can connect with her. And you're on social media, Susie?
Yes, Facebook and Twitter. My personal Facebook page is Susie Anthony. And then there's the Superhero Code fan page. And you can read about retreats on www.superherocoderetreats.com. And my retreats were featured in Kindred Spirit as the best of 2018. And onward we go. So onwards and upwards, I'm fond to say. You want to change your frequency, find your mission, and have all the tools to take home to keep transforming, and join a great group of people who are doing that and are serious about spirituality. and help each other. You know, when you fall into that black hole of depression, which after all, depression is only a sign that something inside of you is dying and something much better is being born. So
I totally agree with that. Absolutely. But yeah, thank you so much, Susie. Like, your story still blows my mind. When I first read it, I was like, really? Oh my God. You know, from one ex-Coke head to another, I was like, wow, that's impressive. But no, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your wisdom. And I know our guys will have found real value in it. But we will see you next week with another amazing guest on Kitty Talks.
Super.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast was sponsored by my Do Your Dharma course. Create a life so good that you pinch yourself. This 8-week online course demystifies Dharma and shows you how to tune in to why you're really here. Go to www.kittytalks.com/do your Dharma.